Hey everybody, what's up? It's Devin LaVore and
Michelle LaVore
and
Peekaboo Head.
Peekaboo Head
coming at you.
Hey, I hope you guys are doing well. We really do.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are doing awesome. We are actually doing great. We are growing. We feel a lot like a seed planted in a mud puddle, but but a lot of seeds grow in that kind of environment. We really feel like we're growing in our environment right now. The environment that we are currently in is just so full of mystery and things that we can share later. But right now, we kind of feel like we're in a place where God has asked us to wait and listen. You know, I was working yesterday and I just kept seeing 55 everywhere. And I was like, okay, what does this 55 mean, Lord? And he's going to be a little antsy today, guys. So just be prepared. Because there's so much stuff right now that's just hindering us from being able to do this. But we have to push through it, you know. So that's what we did. I asked the Lord and I felt like the Lord was like, it's Isaiah 55. And it was really the first 3 words of Isaiah 55 that was just really stuck out at me. In my Bible, in the Amplified Bible, it says, wait and listen. And that's really what we've been trying to do a lot. That's why there hasn't been like a whole ton of activity on our channel. Because, you know, sometimes we can do like, you know, 2 videos at a time. Or, you know, within like a 24-hour period, we might have put out really 3 videos.
Yeah. But
right now, it's been pretty sparse because of the circumstances and just where God has us, what He's doing in our hearts. It's just been... It's been a challenge, and there's just been so much that He's been doing. It's just, it's like the videos have kind of been put on a back burner, not a back burner, but kind of a medium heat.
Yeah.
You know, and we're just waiting to see what God's going to do, or we're not waiting. We're waiting and we're listening, just like the scripture says, and there's been a lot of things that have been revealed to us lately, like since we left Nashville to come to Lawrenceburg and then now to Indianapolis. And we shared a little bit of it in our previous video, but there's just been so much stuff. Yeah. There's been so much stuff, so much that stirs up all kinds of emotions, from ultimate positive to ultimate negative. You know, that's why it's like we really have to process with the Lord, like how we're going to share all the different things that we want to share. And we appreciate you guys' continued support. You guys are amazing. Yeah. You know, we got 2 offerings just the other day, and I was like, wow, what a blessing you guys are for like just not getting tired of us. You know. And welcome to all the new subscribers, by the way. Yeah. And also, we wanted to just kind of touch on something today that we felt was something that needed to be addressed, and that was prophetic words. Giving prophetic words, receiving prophetic words. And I guess the issue is, for us, is like sometimes we get prophetic words from people that we trust wholeheartedly, you know, online, and people who have like online ministries, kind of like what we have, and they're prophesying stuff for the week. You know what I mean? Or they're prophesying stuff for the month, and then that stuff doesn't seem to come to pass, or it doesn't come to pass in the way you think it should, or whatever. And you really are having to search to figure out, well, maybe is this what that was talking about? Or I don't know. And then it's like, oh my gosh, why should we have to do that with a prophetic word? It's just like, if there's going to be this thing that's prophesied, then it should be pretty obvious. Yeah. Like what it is and if it applies to you. And so from that, we've discerned that there's a couple different things that need to be addressed regarding prophetic words. Number 1, giving a prophetic word, well, you could be wrong. You could be totally wrong. Or you could be getting it half right. Or you have to recognize that it is a prophetic word, meaning it's out there. Meaning it's out there in It's just, you don't have the time frame for it, you know? So sometimes putting a time frame on it, it can be a tricky, risky thing. Now let's go to receiving a prophetic word. For some people, they do receive the thing that week, or whatever the prophetic word was prophesying, you know, even things that we've said. We don't put time frames on it unless we really feel the Lord is saying to put the time frame on it. But he does not do that with us.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. In fact, he's taught us the opposite.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? That these other prophets out there are wrong? Well, maybe it's us who are wrong. None of the above. It's just the fact that God is going to work in your life the way he's going to work in your life. And I think that's one of the biggest keys of this video. If you're going to take away anything that we're going to say, and eventually Michelle's going to say something, but if you're going to take away anything, you have to know what God's doing in your life.
Yeah.
You must. It is an absolute must. Yes, we must listen to the prophets and all that stuff and prosper and all that 2 Chronicles 20 type thing. But it's like, and they're there for your encouragement. They're your cheerleaders, but they're not running the plays. You know, they're just cheering you on. You have to know what God is saying to you. You have to be humble enough to submit yourself to whatever it is that God is saying to you and showing you, be it awesome mountaintop stuff, or now we're down in the valley dealing with demons. You know what I'm saying? Because that literally happened on the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration. It was amazing. And then they went down into the valley and dealt with demonic things. This demonic boy. And it's like, that happens just like that. From the time he walked down the mountain, he's in the valley of demon. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to know what God is doing in your life, and you have to be willing to flow with the flow of God for your life. So if a prophetic word is prophesied for this week, for example, and it's like amazing, it's like, who wouldn't want that prophetic word to come to pass in their life? But then the week goes by and you really don't see it happen. And then another prophetic word comes out for the week, and then another week goes by and you really don't see that happening in your life. Let me tell you, the worst thing you can do in that situation is ask what you're doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? What am I... You know, I mean, because there could be things that you're doing wrong, but if there are things that you're doing wrong, God will make it known to you somehow, if he wants to. Because there could be things you're doing wrong, but maybe God's not highlighting that to you, because that's not really what he's trying to do in your life in that moment, or during that week, or during that time. Because we've had some prophetic words spoken to us recently that for the week, that we really, for the past 2 weeks actually, that we were like, man, I'm struggling, and I'm reaching to try to see if, well, maybe this thing and that thing, that fit into it. I mean, there's been some things that have been confirmations of things that God has already spoken to us, but things that are like, oh, this is going to happen this week, and this is what God's saying this week, and it doesn't always apply. And I know that this kind of thing can be like beating a dead horse, you know, because it has to get said a lot. Because I think there's a lot of times a prophetic person or someone you really, really respect will be saying something and prophesying something, and it's just not for you. It's not for your time. It may be for you later on, but not this week. Or not in the next 7 days, or the next 3 days, or this month. It just may not be. Because, you know what, let me just be real, true confessions, real. There are people out there, and I'm going to just say this because it's something that I felt like the Lord shared with me at the very beginning, like May or something, or June of last year, that there are people out there that are prophesying stuff because they're trying to keep their self in business. They're trying to keep their subscribers happy. And they're trying to keep their views up. They're trying to keep revenue going. They're trying to keep... No! That is not... No. Yes. That's absolutely the truth. Not only that, but I've fallen prey to that myself. The temptation of it. Well, I need to... No, I don't. The only thing that we need to do as believers is listen to Jesus. You know, you sit at Jesus' feet like Mary did or whatever. There's all those images that you can use to just... You need to be listening to the Lord to know what he's saying in your life. so that if a prophetic word comes along, it's not too disappointing. Because the truth of the matter is the prophetic word, you want to come into alignment with it. But there have been many times where prophetic words have been spoken and I want to pray it and I want to come into agreement with it and all that stuff. But I feel like the Lord's going, not for you right now. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, but they prophesied it, so I'm going to come into agreement with it, Lord. Well, you're actually not coming into agreement with what God is doing in your life. Mm-hmm. You're not. And so it's like, well, when am I going to get my thing? Because that's really the big question, right? Mm-hmm. Well, when is it going to happen for me? Well, you got to leave that in the hands of God. God has been teaching us for a while now, like, and I got people asking me, well, what's your plan? What's your next step? And it's like, you know what? That's really in God's hand. If he wants to share with me the next step, because it's not like we don't know these kinds of things for not asking. You have not because you ask not. But the bottom line is what God's been sharing with us and doing with us is like literally what Jesus said. I think that kind of like, well, what's your plan and what's going on and all. I think that's a lot of manism. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of man stuff. It's a lot of religious stuff. It's a lot of, well, you should do this and you should do this. Because unfortunately, the church is like a business. And so there's a lot of business mindset stuff that has infiltrated the church. And that's how people think. And then they think, well, that's how God is. No, he's not. Let me tell you what Jesus said. Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow. Give us this day our daily bread. Now, if you want to argue with that, go ahead. Your move. Because you're playing against Jesus, not another human being. And God's been just sharing with us that stuff. I mean, even lately, like even just yesterday and today, the Lord's like, wait and listen. Mm-hmm. Wait and listen. And we may have made a mistake because we didn't necessarily wait and listen. Mm-hmm. And it's like it may cost us money. And today was just like a closed door kind of day. Mm-hmm. Because we're in a situation right now where we really would like to move on. We would like to move on. But it's like the Lord's like, he doesn't seem to be too keen on us moving on. Yeah. And I'm going, okay, well, we're just going to do what you want to do. And a lot of times we step out to do things and it's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done that or whatever. But it's like, oh, well, the bottom line is you can always hear what God is saying to you in your life. And that's the most important prophetic voice in your life is this one right here. Point to your own mouth. That is the most important prophetic voice, because what you're saying over your life and what you're believing in your heart and what's coming out of your mouth, that's important. That's super, super important. Don't let another prophetic voice be the prophet of your life. Don't. You have to be your own prophet. You have to be your own prophetic voice. Now, let me tell you something. That takes a Jesus level of humility to do that. You can't just be prophesying and declaring whatever you want and however you want it and be above reproach, be above correction, and be above... No. I mean, we've said some stuff recently that now we're backtracking on. Nothing necessarily on a video, but things that we've said to people and friends, because you get your friends together, you want to see good happen to your friends, and so you get really excited. And see, that's one of the pitfalls of the prophetic, is when you get really excited, whoa, you better hold off on that. Mm-hmm. You better pray into that. Because when you get super excited about something, and then you're like, oh, this is what's going on, and this is what the Lord is saying, and then a week later you're going, wow, oops, I really botched that one. That was not the Lord. My bad. Mm-hmm. And so it's like there's a lot of stuff that you can say about the prophetic, but I think the gist of the thing that I wanted to share was that you need to be your own voice. And you need to listen to the Lord. And really, that's really what it is. You need to allow the Lord's voice to come out of your mouth. Yeah. Not even so much be your own voice, Yeah. I could keep going. What about you, Sweetie Pea? What are some insights that you wanted to share today?
I think you sopped up most of that. gravy.
I sopped it all up with a prophetic biscuit. Michelle is tired. This is one of those, like, I'm gonna be with you, Devin, but I might just have to do a little pom-pomming.
Yeah,
amen, brother.
Very tired.
Amen, brother.
Our sleep has not been great.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
You know.
You see it on his face.
Yeah.
Super good. But
like what? How do you deal with disappointment when it comes to prophetic words not coming to pass that you thought were going to come to pass? You were hoping were for you, you thought were for you, but then it doesn't seem like at the end of the week, definitely well into the next week, that it was for you.
Yeah, I think I'm still learning how to...
You're still learning?
I know.
Well, we need to cut the video because you don't need to be ministering if you're still learning.
No, I'm still learning really how to kind of walk through that because it is something that can bring up a lot of emotion, stir up a lot
of negative emotion.
Emotion. And so just kind of learning like, okay, well, I guess if that wasn't the Lord, moving on. I think sometimes there is, God even had us, gave us a picture of just like, don't look back. Don't go and, when we first moved to Nashville, like, don't look back. Just keep moving forward, keep walking forward. And I know for me personally, looking back can be a really dangerous thing, simply because it can take me down to a not so great place, because it can steal from belief. It can steal from my trust in the Lord. And from your joy and your peace. Yeah. And now before you know it, you're mad at the Lord and you're ready to accuse Him for being not good. Yeah. And I think it's just important to just go to the Lord. Yesterday, I was just like, well, Lord, this is what I'm feeling. I'm asking you to just come in. And again, that just like, Lord, please come in and just show me where you are. Like, where are you in all of this? And so I think that can be just, and has been a really good tool to just remind myself of like, okay, like, ask the Lord where He is in this. And I think it's very difficult also for me because I think there's a lot of us, that myself included, that want to be perfect. Oh, yes. We really don't want to mess up. We're going to touch on that. Keep going. And so, when you get a prophetic, what you believe is like, okay, yeah, like that is for me. Or you step out into something and you really thought that it was the Lord, but it doesn't work out, and you're just going, wow, what happened? Mm-hmm. And there's this part of me that's just like, so mad at myself because I want to be perfect. I want to walk in that. And today when we were talking, it was just, Devin was reminding me, it's like, well, you know what? It's like, but God sees us as righteous. He's not seeing our imperfections. And He is not expecting us to be perfect. Mm-hmm. He is expecting us to walk humbly before Him. He's expecting us to just believe and trust Him. And enjoy Him. And just enjoy Him, Hang out with Him, And so it definitely has been just an interesting week in that a lot of things, very familiar things from when we first moved to Nashville, have just been coming up. And a lot of just past things, like stuff way you haven't back dealt with in like October and like September, October time frame has been coming up and spilling out, and it's just like
I'm like, is this the final exam before the manifestation?
I don't
had
know.
Like 3 separate stories, you know, and a manifestation story, and it's like
many a final exams, and I'm like,
dude, what is going on?
How many exams are on this?
I had 200.
Yeah, that's more like it.
That look on your face, like, no, honey.
I don't know. You must have taken a different class than me, because
I took the accelerated course.
Oh, man, I signed up for
and
the
I'm still here.
Man, if yours is the
I took the accelerated course, and I'm still here in class. Oh my gosh.
But
that's too funny.
But yeah, just so much stuff. But even through it all, and this is kind of, I guess,
through it all,
getting off on a somewhat tangent.
Yeah, let's just do it. Just do the thing, okay?
But it was just really awesome.
The title is subjective.
In that, just God did some really awesome just healing in my own heart.
Last night?
Last night.
Oh, that was amazing.
And so that was just so cool. And it, again, had to do with finances. For those that have watched a lot of our videos, that is an area for me that has had a lot of just fear, anxiety,
deep fear.
Yeah. And
God's not going to come
through
through.
This
God's not going to come through.
Really this whole process that God's been taking us through.
Yeah.
He's really just been working at it. And back in November, he gave me a picture of just like hammering, like concrete was falling off of me, and concrete was just the way of my thinking when it came to money and everything. And so then last night, it was just really cool because once again, that fear just rose up, and I was so frustrated because I was like,
fear of losing money, or
money,
not having enough, or really being like forsaken financially.
Yeah. And that after a prophetic word
come on, there you go.
saying that there was going to be financial breakthrough this week. And
that was last week.
Yeah. And I was just looking at it going,
nothing happened.
Where's the breakthrough?
Unless it was, I mean, and then you can take it and go, well, maybe it was that. Maybe that's what it was. And it's just like, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to complain, but I'm not like, that's the big prophetic thing that was worth talking about?
Yeah, and like
I would have saved that.
No more financial, and like the financial, not having financial burdens, and I'm just looking like,
that did not happen.
Wow.
It's going to blow your mind and be beyond your imagination, more than you could ever dream or ask it. Nope, sorry. I mean, there was a little cool thing that happened, but not beyond my reckoning. You know what I'm saying? It's just saying.
So it's just, all of that came back up again, and, it was like, wow. And I think the most frustrating part is I thought I had made a lot of progress. I was like, Lord, I thought I was doing fairly decent with this, but now here comes something, and boom.
Well, you had.
Well,
you have made a ton of progress.
I have.
It's just the center issue still seems to be there.
Yeah. And so then...
You're going to shake the camera, girl. Messing with a tripod.
So last night, I don't know, God just showed that how just growing up, I had just been bent back and forth when it came to finances. And it was like I was this, like a...
You were a steel rod.
And it was just, when you can bend, when it gets bent back and forth, and it eventually just broke. And
in that one area.
Yeah.
All the rest of the rod is fine, but that one area is bent. Your will was bent by something greater than you.
Yeah.
That created a financial weakness of fear.
Yeah. And so I just, we were just praying, or I started praying because really felt like the Lord was saying, like, I needed to pray things through. And so I did, and
I'm getting clocked here.
You know, he pretty much gave me this picture of, you know, at first I was praying like, well, Lord, just weld this back together. And then he was showing me, though, just this new shiny rod where there was no brokenness. There was no patch job. And so it was like, he's like, no, I want you to be shiny, which of course, you know, reminded me of the crab.
Shiny.
Yeah, thanks. From Moana, but
you can try, but you can't expect a decapod. Oh wait, a demigod to beat a decapod. Look it up.
So
yes, we have children, and we watch Moana 15 times. Ooh, speaking of 15, no, I'm going to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course.
I already did.
Yeah. So it was just this really awesome thing that God did. He was just like, I'm going to heal you. And through the prayer, it was just, you know, a prayer of being just completely restored to new, but just having the strength and to walk in authority in the very area that I had deep fear. And you can go ahead.
You see, I'm about ready to bust. Well, it reminded me of the vision of you when you were getting taken out of the concrete. When God finally chiseled away some things to be able to it was like I had a vision of Michelle, and she was like kind of like waist deep in concrete. It's hard, solidified concrete. So God was doing all this work to try to get her out of the concrete. See, and I think that's the progress you've been making. It's really been you allowing Him to make progress in your heart on this financial issue. And then God was able to finally like grab her, kind of like a Barbie doll. He just grabbed her and like pulled her out. And there was all these little chunks of concrete still attached to her legs, and her legs were all atrophied, kind of like someone who's been in a wheelchair for like 20 years or something. They just have no muscle. And he set her, it was weird. It was like he set her like with her legs out in this bowl of oil. And she was waist deep in oil. And then all the
shards.
All the little chunks and shards of concrete that he couldn't just chisel off because it probably would have hurt. They just started to fizzle, kind of like pop rocks in soda, you know. They just started to fizzle away, but as they fizzle away, like your legs became really strong. I'm talking like CrossFit competition strong. And then he pulled you out and set you down, and you were ready to just walk, you know? And so it kind of lines up with that vision of the new strength. Yeah. It's all new. Like your legs were like amazing. You know, I mean, your legs are already amazing.
Thanks.
I can say that right now. So there's a promise of new.
Yeah.
You know?
So it was really, really good. And, you know, it does kind of line up with the prophetic words. And I think that sometimes that prophetic words can often expose a lot of times just where our hearts have been hurt. And I think if we allow God to come in, He really can bring healing to those parts of your heart. And I just think, like, it's really important when you are hearing prophetic words, because I think there's already an initial excitement when you like, ooh, there's a prophetic word out. It's like, yes, maybe I can hear something that's going to be awesome, that's going to encourage me. And so there's already an excitement there. But to really just kind of sit on some of those words and see, like...
What's wrong, buddy?
Really... see what God is saying to you and what He is is saying yes to, and what does he want to say through things, and actually it was funny because all of this came about honestly through all of the prayer and the healing and all of that came during when we were actually reading a prophetic word, because it was stirring things up again, and so it started just this whole process of like, wow, okay, and we were just talking it through, and then afterwards we were able to just go on and to read it.
It was a short word, too.
And it was a short one, but it was
a short word. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe like 500 words, but that's short for us. But
yeah,
it was super short.
Oh, excuse me. Like I said, I'm tired. But
I don't know, that word count might be really off as well. But it was like, in Facebook terms, it was like this long.
Yeah.
You know.
But so I think it's just important, like, as you read the words, if there's triggers, like, face as you read it.
Look them in the face. Don't turn away from them.
Yeah. And just really bring it to God, because the enemy can turn around and use those against you. You know, it's like something hits your heart. As soon as it hits your heart, you have to be like, Lord, please come in. Please help me in this area. Please, do what only you can do, because it's otherwise it's an opening for the enemy to come in, and he can just like wreak havoc and just bring discouragement, bring despair, and that's really the last place you want to be.
I just got taller than you all of a sudden.
But yeah, so I know we've done other videos about prophetic words, but like Devin said, we really just believe that it's, again, something to be kind of brought out and addressed.
Because there are a lot of people doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing, this is the prophetic word for the week. And I'm like, oh, wow, so like a lot of people are doing that. And I'm just like, okay. And I know Ryan Lestrange, he comes out with his Monday word every Monday, and it's just fine. I think what I want you guys to walk away with from us is like, we're not dissing that at all.
No, we're actually find a lot of encouragement from many prophetic words.
Yeah, but it's just for you for us as individuals, we can't just take listen, if you took every prophetic word, let's say prophetic word for the week, right? From Ryan Lestrange, from Neil Vermillion, whatever his name is, Jolynn Whitaker. Let's say Shelly L comes out with something. Let's say Lana Vosser comes out with something, and Lorelei Cooley comes out with something, and then all the other people that they all come out with a word for the week. They all come out with a word for this coming week. Which one is applying to you? All of those are, I'm guaranteeing you, 100% golden mallet slamming on the gavel of God, like a lot of those words are not going to be for you, a specific individual. Why? Because like I said in a video a long time ago, God's prophetic office, his prophetic, it's like God has this big, massive call center. You ever been to a call center? There's a ton of people at a call center, all sitting in their cubicles. Well, imagine those are all prophetic people. And God has given each and every one of them something to say, to prophesy, to declare. I mean, there's obviously people out there that are saying stuff that's just not God and all that stuff. But I'm saying his kingdom, what he is absolutely doing, it's absolutely him. Devil aside, flesh aside, all that, it's him. There's thousands and thousands of people out there declaring something that God is saying for you this week and for this person that week. And in a social media world, you have to take responsibility for your own heart and your own relationship with God and be like, okay, Lord, does this apply to me? How does this work? There's a lot of work that goes into processing a prophetic word. There is. You can't just hear it and be like, "Woo, praise Jesus, that's for me." Because Because it may not be. It may be. But even if it is, to what degree? What have we learned recently? Like, God, okay, God, what are you really saying through that? What is on your heart? That's why Lana Vosser always talks about praying into something. Like really getting into like, okay, God, what are you really saying? Because a lot of times stuff will start off as an impression or as an idea, as a, ooh, I really feel like the peace of God, the anointing on this. That's awesome. Let's prophesy it. Oh man, you might have really messed up. 'Cause that's what we did. I think a week and a half ago. We got really excited and we got on board with something and we realized we were very wrong. And it's like, oh man, how do we come back from that? At least it wasn't a video. Because I've done those too. I've done some videos like that and been like, oh man, half of that was not right. Or the timing factor of it was totally wrong. You know, and you're gonna make those kind of mistakes, and you can't beat yourself up for making mistakes. You can't beat yourself up for working through the process and letting people see all the glory.
Yeah, see the process. Yeah.
So I know this is a kind of a long video, man. I tell you what, we've got enough to do like a whole season's worth of videos.
Yeah.
Just from this past week, it's just insane. Some of the stuff that we've learned, some of the stuff that needs to be discussed, but.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, like what you just said, I think is really important, is to not beat yourself up. The truth is, we're all going to get it wrong at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe multiple times, either...
Expect it.
It's kind of just expect
next Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding. You're going to get something wrong. Am I prophesying?
Just expect that,
oh my gosh.
You know, it is a growth process. You know, it's no different, like... I think it's because it's God, we have this expectation that because He is perfect, that we're going to get everything perfectly. But the truth is, we are not perfect. We have desires, we have emotions, and we have all these other factors.
Knowing part, prophesying part.
Come in. Yeah. And I think for me, like, a lot of frustration comes because I'm like, but it's God. Like, why don't things just work this perfect way? Because it's God. And
it's God. Jesus did it this way. Why do we have... Jesus would just be like, boom, done. Why do we have to ask like 277 times?
Yeah.
It's like, I thought this was your will. Why do you... You're actually making me bug you, the very thing I tell my kids not to do. Yeah. You're making me do that. You know what I'm saying?
So I just think
there's all kinds of stuff like that, right? You know,
it's so I just think it's important that it is a growth process. As we mature, we get better at it. We're able to tune in and know what is the Lord, what isn't the Lord. You know, we can, you know, and that is something that you can, I think, really grow and have that expectation that you are going to mature in it. You're going to continue to be able to hear properly from the Lord, because it's no different than playing an instrument. You know, when you first get it, ooh, I hit the wrong note here and the wrong note, but you practice that song over and over again. Pretty soon it's like you can do it in your sleep. And you know,
I've been on worship teams. I was in worship teams off and on for 17 years. I never played a perfect set. I would mess up all the time, and no one would know. Not only that, but no one would care. But the kind of like level of that you give to it is completely and totally unnecessary, because God has grace for you, and He knows that you're going to learn. You know, other people have mercy on you, particularly if you're giving prophetic words. They're like, okay, I know you might have missed that or whatever, but it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, to mess up.
So I think that's what we have for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a pretty long video, I think.
It is. It's a long video, but
we just
listen to however much you want to listen to.
We just love you guys, and
it's like an episode of a TV show.
We just really appreciate you, and we just pray that you guys would just have ears to hear clearly, and that God would just give you all insight and wisdom.
Yeah. Amen.
And until next time, we'll see you later.
Love you guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Oh, he was like, hi. Hi. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hey.
Hey.